everybody. Welcome back to our Kingdom Death Simulator playthrough. This will be episode 3 of our stream series here, playing the People of the Lantern campaign. At the start of every stream, of course, I want to share with you all a content warning. This is a very mature game, has adult imagery as well as descriptions and depictions of violence, body horror, gore, as well as descriptions of mental trauma. So if any of that is a problem for you, I totally understand. You're under no obligation to stay around. I appreciate it, but first and foremost, keep yourselves safe. Additionally, if this is your first time here and you want to catch up, we do have our VODs available on YouTube. And for whoever's been out there watching, thank you very much. I've been seeing slightly less Arliss. So thank you to anybody who has been watching over on the YouTube side. Really appreciate all the support wherever it may come from. A little bit of housekeeping. As anybody is aware that watched last week's stream, I kind of accidentally killed somebody because I forgot some stuff. So there is now a new chat command, remind. That's probably going to come in handy at some point. But let's dive right in. We have decided, even though we have unlocked access to the Screaming Antelope, we're going to continue going after the White Lion for several reasons. If you remember in the previous episode, we got the hunt event that would have given us free ammonia. We did not quite have the stats to get that. I think we have the stats to get it if it pops up again. Free innovations is always good. As well as personally, I would like to get a hold of definitely the bow and then if possible the guitar before we start going after the antelope. So those are the goals. That's what we're here for. And we've already got everything set up. Survivors have been given their depart bonuses. Let's give a quick rundown of who we have with us. Again, don't really pay too much attention to what's on the sheets. I run things more through the overlay. So what you see on their character sheets might not exactly match up one-to-one. So we are taking, we have our, I got some special models out of the cabinet for our intimacy couple. These are the two survivors that gave birth to our first child back in year 1. And that would be Leandros and Alba. Leandros is coming out pretty bare bones. He's got a bone dagger. Just hopefully get a little bit of work there due to his higher strength. And then Alba basically just has Lucy's loadout with the bone darts. Let me think here. I think I'm going to move the Drydacanthus over to Zachary, actually. Nope. Can't do that because I already gave that bonus to Leandros, and I don't want to redo the math. Urza, who was our all-star in the prologue, is able to come out with us, and she is rocking the full set of rawhide armor. So we got some extra survival stuff here, as well as the evasion and the rawhide headband effect that we had previously. Also, when you have a full armor set, you do gain bonuses from that. So in addition to the 1 armor that the armor naturally grants to each hit location, once you have the set completed, you gain an additional armor, as well as this very powerful ability here. When you perform a survival action, roll a d10, so 50% of the time you're going to get the survival back. So Urza is going to be doing some work for us here as our tank. Hello, Shroom. Welcome back. Nice to see you. And she's also rocking the monster grease. So she's got all kinds of good stats here. She's just going to be standing in front of the lion and holding it in place. And then finally we got Zachary, who doesn't have a whole lot going for him, but he does have the spear. This is one of my favorite weapons in the game. So he's just going to be... He shouldn't really need too much in the way of defenses, thankfully, but we'll see how that goes. And then he's a little light on resources right now, but again, the 2 survival here is fake. But he will be getting some extra survival when we get to the fight. And I realized one other thing. I forgot to read the lore last week. So this is another thing where Kingdom Death can kind of be compared to Dark Souls, in that there is a lot of lore to be had, but it's buried. Very small snippets here and there. A lot of it is tied into the random hunt events, as well as once you get into other expansions, you start to see how things kind of join together. But let's read our story for the White Lion. There once was a beast that wanted to feel how soft its fur was. Since it could not reach its own back, it killed many other creatures and spent time rubbing its paws over them. They say that when the monster finally killed a human, it fell in love with their soft hair and its paws grew into a pair of fine human hands. See, he just wants to be loved. Sorry, buddy, but I gotta make pants out of you. So let's just jump into the hunt phase. Everything's set up. Everything's ready to go. We just need to see who will be going first. And that is number 3, which is Alba. All right. So Alba will be stepping up to this first hunt event. The Prowling Lion. Oh, this is not great. While the survivors stalk the White Lion, the monster hunts something else. Move the White Lion one space away from the survivors on the hunt board in pursuit of its prey. The White Lion starts the showdown with ground fighting in play. Build its AI deck normally. Not off to a great start. I got to see how that works out with the automation. We'll figure that out when we get there, though. Next up is going to be Zachary. Aromatic Breeze. The hungry lion sniffs the survivor's musk on the wind. Move the White Lion one space toward the survivors on the hunt board. Thankfully, it does not catch up to us, so there's no ambush. And then we roll a random hunt event. We roll a 15. That brings us to... Where's my hunt events? There they are. 15, Man Trap. The event revealer springs a terrible trap. Roll 1d10. All right, we're not feeling great about this. 6. Mangled Leg. Destroy all armor at the leg's location and suffer 1 event damage to the legs. So thankfully, Zachary does not have any leg armor, but he will start the fight off now with a light wound on his legs. I only have 1 founding stone left, and yes, Leandros is currently carrying it. Sorry, running into some overlay issues and now freaking out a bit. There we go. All right, that brings us back around to Leandros, who will reveal, hopefully, this last event. Obviously, random event. Yeah, so since we're not playing with any expansions, all the basic events are just random events. 94. Oop, there it was. Sickening Mess. The survivors come upon a patch of badly damaged ground. The stone faces are cracked and debris is strewn everywhere. Piles of toxic-smelling dung and half-digested viscera litter the area. The survivors approach, but survivors with the squeamish disorder refuse to go any closer. We currently have nobody with squeamish. Insane survivors consume what they find and make themselves sick. They gain -1 strength token. Sane survivors stop to investigate the mess. So Zachary is currently insane. That's great. So he's going to get a -1 strength token. Even though I'm tracking stuff on the overlay, we will also track the tokens because potentially he could lose that token at some point. So that brings him down to no strength. Not great. But everybody else is sane. So if you have 3 or more insanity, you are considered insane. So we have currently Urza with nothing, and Leandros and Alba both have 2. Each survivor gains +1 courage and rolls a d10 and adds their understanding. Cool. So that's 1 courage for Leandros, 2 for Urza, and 1 for Alba. So roll a d10 and add their understanding. So we'll start off with Leandros, who has 1 understanding. He gets a 4. Heaving, eyes filled with tears, your sickening hunt pays off. Gain 1 random basic resource and suffer 1 event damage to a random hit location. I'll take that. Basic resources. We get a perfect bone. Nice. And then 1 event damage to the body. So the thing with event damage, it's still damage. If you are already at your heavy wound, you don't suffer severe injuries from event damage. Next up, we'll have Urza, who's adding 4 to this roll. So that gives her an 11. Your intuition pays off. Gain 1 random basic resource. Cool. She gets a love juice. And finally, Alba with a 2. Cool. You become lightheaded, sifting through the piles of dung. Uncontrollable gagging ensues. Gain -1 strength token. That's not fantastic. So that brings her down to currently 1 strength. All right, but that just means Urza starts the showdown. So let's set up our level 1 showdown. And then I've got to go find that ground fighting card. So I'm trying to think. So I think that means technically he'll have an extra wound. We'll figure that out when we get there. Let's look, see. This is definitely an easier thing to do in the paper version. Press some wrong buttons, but that's fine. Is ground fighting currently here? It is. Okay. Set that aside. Send that back to the box. So ground fighting. We dealt with this last time. The monster flops onto its side, waiting for attackers to draw near. While ground fighting is played, do not draw AI cards. So at least that's something. When a survivor spends its action in the zone of death before resolving the action, the monster performs its basic action. Bad. And then when the white lion is wounded, discard ground fighting. So technically that's going to give the monster an extra wound for this fight because it's an extra card in his deck. Aside from that, let's see what we got here. We have, as always, our tall grass. So we usually like to start that one here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. And then the other one, 1, 2, 3, 4. We usually put this one like up this way. What else have we got? We got some more acanthus plants. We'll set those up in a moment, and an ore vein. So that could be cool if we roll well there. All right, so let's set up here. Where is Urza? There she is. She's definitely going to be our primary target here. And then we're just going to set everybody else in their usual spaces. And we will bring our acanthus. We'll start off with this one here. And the other one has to be 6 spaces away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Zachary might grab that one. And then the ore vein. What are the rules for ore vein? 6 spaces from all other terrain. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, that's probably our best bet there. So let's move a couple people around. We'll actually move this one over here. Alba. All right, I think that's how we'll be starting off the fight. And then, not going to forget this time, we have a couple stone noses to attend to. On arrival, gain +1 insanity and +1 survival for both Urza and Zachary. Urza's already at max survival, but she will gain an insanity. And Zachary will gain both. All right, so let's start off with our first monster card. We get... Oh, actually, no, we don't. Let's pretend... Well, we'll just shuffle that back. Because ground fighting is in play. We do not draw AI cards. So the monster just kind of hangs out. So we actually get to spend a couple turns gathering our resources with really no ill effects. So as long as we don't approach it, we'll be just fine. So we'll just go to our first survivor turn. We will have Alba come over here and pick this Acanthus. She gets a 9, a fresh Acanthus. I will absolutely remember that this time. I believe that's a strange resource. There it is. So we will remember that we have access to this so we don't accidentally kill somebody again. Zachary is just going to scoot over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then Leandros will go after the other Acanthus. That's the wrong thing. That's a 10, so that's just another... Stop pressing buttons. It's another fresh Acanthus. So we got a couple of those to go around. That's handy. Archive that. And then he's just going to kind of step over this way. Bring Urza over there. And we're going to end our turn there. The monster is going to continue to not do anything. And then Zachary's going to come over here and go for the ore vein. So this actually worked out quite nicely for us. Shroom, there is a new chat command for that. Exclamation point, remind. Nice. Got the 10. We get an iron. Excellent. Can't do anything with that just yet, but definitely nice to have. And again, we're going to be in a bit of a holding pattern. I think I'll scoot Alba over this way. We're going to, again, end our turn there. This now gets archived. These can be archived. Next turn, Zachary's just going to come back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. End our turn again. So now, like, we're ready to start the fight. Lion's going to continue to do nothing. That's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we're good. So first order of business is to get this ground fighting off. So Alba is going to try that first with her bone darts. She has no accuracy, so she is hitting on a 7. That's a miss. That's fine. We're literally just going to sit here and keep ending our turn until Alba can take care of that. Because we're at no risk here because the monster's not drawing any cards. It's just waiting for us. All right, she gets a hit there. Hit location is the beast's ribs. Alba has that -1 strength, but she still has naturally 1 strength going for her. With 3 strength on the darts. Lion has a toughness of 8, so she is wounding on a 4. That's a wound. Okay. So if the attacker has 3+ understanding, Alba does not. That ends that. So we actually do deal a wound. And now ground fighting comes into the discard pile. So that'll pop up once again later. And now we can just proceed as usual. So Zachary will come up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The spear has a reach of 2, so he can attack on the diagonal. Hitting on a 6 at the speed of 2. We got a hit. Perfect hit. Zachary doesn't really have anything to deal with that just now. Should have done these order of death triggers, but forgot that. We'll just remember that next time we have a free action to spend. Hit location, the fuzzy groin. So the spear has a strength of 3. Zachary currently has no natural strength, so we are wounding on a 5. That's a wound. Look at that. We're doing it, team. We are doing it. And then we're going to have Urza just step up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop right there. Do a little dance. With her axe. Also hitting on 6s. That is, again, 1 hit. The glorious mane. It is impervious. So it doesn't matter what we roll unless it is a crit. It is not a crit. Boo. And probably should have gotten Leandros into better position, but we did not. 2, 3, 4. We're just kind of. Let me step off to the side just to be safe. There's some commands you need as reminders. We do that. We have that. I told you. Sam, you're forgetting the rules again. Now we finally get the Lion's actual first turn after all that. Size up. Random threat in field of view. Does that... I don't think Alba counts for that. She didn't activate. I didn't say she activated. She could have, but I didn't say so. So anybody. It is Zachary. Intimidate target. The monster stares down its prey. Turn to face the target. Roll 1d10. 8. On result of 4+, target suffers 1 brain damage per monster level and is knocked down. Zachary has plenty of insanity to spare, so that's fine. However, he is knocked down, but I think we'll be okay. Not bad, not bad. All right, back around to the monster's turn. So first thing that's going to happen is Urza is going to encourage Zachary to stand up. And she's going to roll a d10 to see if she gets that survival back. She does. So, free encourage. Cool. If it matters, she has spent her encourage for the round. And we're just going to keep going as we have been. Going to make Zachary step back just a little to swing with the spear. Again, hitting on 6s. That is 1 hit. The beast's tricep. So now Zachary, again, wounding on a 5. That's a wound. Why could this not have gone so well last week? We'll let Alba do her thing. That's a miss. I'm trying to think. Let's have Urza go first, hitting on her 6s. That's 2 hits. All right, we got the Beast's Tail or Beast's Flank. Beast's Flank is definitely the one that we want to start with. So Urza hits like a truck. She has 3 strength on her axe, as well as 1 natural strength. She is wounding on a 4. Ruh-roh. So nothing really happens there. And then same for the Beast's Tail. That is a 9, so that is a wound. However, that does trigger this. Full move the monster forward in a straight line. Cancel all hits now out of range. Any suffers passed over suffer grab. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that means Urza comes along for the ride and is knocked down. Suffers 1 damage to the waist. Not a problem. So first thing we'll do, who has the most survival other than Urza? We'll say Alba will stand Urza up. That's the wrong one. So Alba spends a survival. And Urza just stands right back up, because we do not want to stay knocked down when the lion is around. I do think we can get Leandros into his range. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the blind spot. So the daggers, 3 speed, hitting on 7s. So high speed weapons are usually not particularly fond of, because they're more likely to hit the trap. But it's the best we could make. It's better than going out there with our founding stone again. So that is only 1 hit. Okay. To the Beast's elbow. So Bone Dagger has a strength of 1. Leandros is a beefy boy with a natural strength of 2. So we are wounding on a 5. Probably should have waited to stand Urza up, but oh well, too late. Doesn't matter, we didn't fail. 1 more wound. Also, I have to remember, Zachary has wounded. Normally, you would not check this off until the end of the hunt, but I'm going to forget. So I'm checking it off now. The only thing that would matter is if he happens to die, at which point, who cares? The proficiency's not going to matter. Okay, that is everybody's action. Back over to the lion. Bloody Claw, closest survivor with the most bleeding tokens. So if nobody has bleeding tokens, does that mean it targets nobody, or it just targets the closest survivor? We're just going to assume it targets the closest survivor, which is going to be Urza. We put her there for a reason. Speed 2, accuracy 2. So Urza is sitting on 3 evasion. So the monster needs 5s to hit. That is 1 hit. So it will deal 2 damage. Actually, we're not gonna let that happen. We're going to dodge that 1 hit. Let's see if Urza gets her survival back. She does. So again, for record keeping, she has now spent her dodge for the round. Start of the monster's turn, these come back. Whoops. But she will be out of dodge because this is pretty bad. Don't want that to happen, so might as well dodge that. Back around to the survivors. Let's see. Should we just have Urza go first? I think we just have Urza go first. So again, looking for those 6s. 1 hit. Strange Hand. Wounding on a 4. Wound. She's been so close to critting. God, 1 luck would be so nice. But it is what it is. And we're going to have Leandros go next. I have a feeling there's a trap in our near future. 1 hit. Okay, and again, he is wounding on a 5. That is a wound. Don't have to worry about the failure. Continuing to go strong. Might as well have Alba go next. Whiff again. And I think we can get Zach into range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, since he can hit on the diagonal. 6s, 2 hits. Yeah, we got the scapular deltoid. That's not great. Beast Brow is also not great, but this is probably the better one to start with. So again, he is wounding on a 5. That is a wound. Rolling so many 9s. Interesting. Yeah, I know there's a handful of keyboard shortcuts. I wasn't aware of that one. Oh, not 43. That would be bad. So we do have this effect. Attacker suffers 1 brain damage. That's okay. Zachary has plenty of insanity. And perform the basic action targeting the attacker. So, oops. So I don't think Zachary has anything really going for him. He has 1 natural evasion. So this will be hitting on 3s. That is 2 hits. So 1 damage each to the body and the waist. That's fine. We'll take that. And that's that. So since the monster did not move out of range, it doesn't say to cancel any other hit events. We still have the opportunity to wound the other location. Although, now if this happens, he's going to run off with Zachary, which is suboptimal. So let's just roll that 5. Yeah. My God, I think that's like my 5th 9 on a wound roll. And that should be everybody. Yes, that was everybody. I'm going to avoid the joke I almost just made. And let's move on to the monsters action. All right, ground fighting comes back into play. So we're right back here. So that's fine. So again, we're going to see if Alba can clear it off. It'd be nice if Alba could do something. That's a hit to the fleshy gut. So again, she is wounding on a 4. That's a crit. We got a crit. The white lion vomits all over you. It feels awesome. Gain 1 random resource and 3 insanity. Awesome, Alba. Let's grab that basic resource. You get a perfect organ. Wow. We are rolling this time. That is another wound as well. Wow. Did I miss? Oh, no. So I did not miscount because ground fighting is still in the deck. But we can finish this guy off like right here, right now. This is going great. We're going to have Zach take a step back and go with the spear, looking for those 6s. That is one hit to the soft belly. Still wounding on a 5. Failure. Boo. Stop it. Let's see if we can get Urza into the blind spot here. We might be able to get Leandros to swing around, but oof, we've got to hit that trap soon. So Urza will be hitting on 5s here. That is one hit to the beast's knee. Still wounding on a 4. Nothing. We had such an opportunity to finish it off. But that's fine, because even if we don't, ground fighting is just going to come back into play again. But I have a feeling Leandros is going to hit the trap here. So hitting on 6s in the blind spot. That is 2 hits. There it is. I knew it was only a matter of time. So basically just basic action on Leandros. Oops, wrong button. So again, Leandros has that same 1 natural evasion. So hitting on 3s, 2 hits. To the body and the legs. So that is a heavy wound on the body, light wound on the legs. Which means Leandros is knocked down. Not too bad. Also, this should have flipped over. Then we just gotta pick this up, shuffle it back in. And that is the end of our turn, which means monster's turn, just once again, ground fighting comes into play. So we're going to do the exact same thing. No, thank you, sir. Starting off, seeing if Alba can clear it off. Nope. Zachary can take a step back. Since he is outside the zone of death and stab. Looking for those 6s. 1 hit to the femur, wounding on a 5. Not a wound. So we're literally just not going to do anything. Monster's turn comes around. Again, monster does not draw AI, which means Leandros gets to stand up. Although Leandros will not do anything. And we're just going to repeat that. Alba misses. Zachary misses. Repeat. Alba hits at the beast's chest. She is still wounding on a 4. A 4. Crit! Woo! Alba getting it done. 1 random white lion resource. I don't think we've shuffled this back recently. So we get golden whiskers. That's nice. And then roll a d10. On a result is a 10. The lion dies instantly. What are the odds? No. Got to think about how this works specifically, because we do the wound. Yeah. I think the monster's dead anyway, because we do the wound. There's nothing in the AI pile. which means this is the last wound. And then ground fighting is discarded? But if ground fighting goes back into the AI deck after the monster's already dead, I think that's just the end of the fight. If anybody wants to chime in, either in Twitch chat or on the YouTube comments later, I think I did that right. Ultimately, I don't think we were at much of a threat for anything bad happening. We still had 3 full actions left. I'm sure we could have dealt 1 more wound anyway. Thank you, Shroom. Yeah, cool. Jeez, why couldn't that have happened last week? That's got to be a record. Believe it or not, that's probably the second easiest lion fight I've ever had. There was one lion fight where the lion just kept getting knocked down. It was hilarious. But we win. So let's go back to our showdown. All right, so again, hunt XP and weapon proficiencies. So for our XPs, bring Zachary up to 3. Uh-oh. Urza will get her age trigger, and this was the first hunt for both Leandros and Alba. So let's do the age for Urza first and foremost. She gains her weapon proficiency. We're going to choose Axe for her. And then she also gets to roll. She gets a 10. Or no, she rolls 2 dice. So she gets 10 plus 5, 15. Yep, random fighting art. She gets leader. I think she already has leader. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay. Well, she gets nothing. So she is going to choose Axe for her weapon proficiency. And then, as we discussed last time around, little known ruling for order of operations. Let's get to the right one. There we go. So now she gets to gain a weapon proficiency level. Bring her up to level 1 Axe. And we already checked off Zachary's spear proficiency. And then I think we're just down to our resources. We already have the Caterium, nothing to worry about there. So 4 basics and 4 lions. We've got a skull, a love juice. Oh boy, we might be doing some baby making. Question mark, I'm actually really happy to see that. And a monster organ. Now here's the important stuff. We're looking for some specific stuff from the lion. Great cat bones, white fur, sinew, that's a good one, and curious hand. So we do get to give somebody 1 insanity, and a random survivor 1 insanity. So we will choose to give Urza an insanity since she has the least. And then randomly, Leandros will get the second one. And we're back to the settlement phase. Excellent. So, again, survivors return. Everybody heals up. Again, I'll do that in a bit. Gain our endeavors. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think we have a tinker. Yes, Urza is a tinker, so she gains 1 extra endeavor for that. I thought she was a matchmaker. We have 5 endeavors to spend this year. That's nice. Nobody else is old enough to have anything going on there. update our timeline. So draw our settlement event and then trigger any other stories. All right, time for the scariest part of the game. Heat. We got this one last time. 80 returning survivors with heavy or fur gear have heat stroke and may not depart this lantern year. So that is going to be Zachary, I believe, is the only one. Because again, rawhide is not fur. Bone axe is not heavy. Nothing heavy over here. So the king spear, however, is heavy. So we're going to try to do the fine fluid. Or no. So fine fluid will get rid of this side effect, but it will not get rid of this side effect. Okay. No science or education endeavors. Unlikely to be a factor. Yeah, so it looks like Zachary's just not coming with us this next time around. Otherwise, we might try breathe fumes. We'll see. Do we have anything else on the timeline? We have nothing else on the timeline. So that's it for story events. Update death count, nothing happened there. Check milestones, nothing happened there. On to develop. So let's grab up all these resources. We brought back an absolute haul. And I'm pressing the wrong buttons. Maybe there's a limit to how much I can pick up at once. We're doing it again. Something is up with this monster organ. It's just not letting me stack. Why are you being mean? All right, so a ton of stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we're finally going to innovate. We're going to spend one of our endeavors, and then a bone, a hide, and an organ. So we have this monster organ. We will spend... trying to think how we want to do this for crafting stuff. Did not get a lion claw, so we can't make the guitar. Need to save one bone for the catgut bow. That's fine. Don't really think we have anything else special that we care about. So we will just spend the great cat bone. And we still need a hide, so I guess we'll just spend a white fur. Curious Hand also counts as hide, so that's nice to know. All right, so we come over to our Innovate deck. We get to draw 2 and pick 1. We've got Paint, that's a good one, and Drums. So 100% we're picking Paint. This gives us access to the dash action. Drums is also good, but getting all of our survival actions online is the most important part. So basically we can spend a survival to do a second move during a fight. So Paint gets added in, Drums goes back, and we've got to find all of our paint consequences. Which includes face painting, which is a good one for us. Pictograph. Sculpture. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So those will all get, oh goodness. Oh, I'm messing up. Those will all get added into our innovation deck for future years. We still have 4 endeavors to go. We might try making some babies this year. I've got 2 love juice. No, I'm going to hold on to those love juices. I would like to try to wait until we have face painting. So face painting essentially lets us add to our rolls on intimacy. And since we're essentially rolling at disadvantage, we want to have that if possible. Nothing else to work on here. So for innovations, we have nothing to happen here. I don't know, maybe we just do some stuff here. Maybe we just breathe some fumes. All right, well, first of all, we'll find fluid, because if Zachary can't depart, we want to be able to pass his spear onto somebody else who can. So that's probably a smart thing to do. So let's start with that. All right, so we have 4 shots at this, looking for a 6 or 7. That's a 9. We can endeavor normally. That's not really helping. That's a 6. Okay, so it took us 2 endeavors to get that. So Zachary still can't depart, but we can give somebody the spear. All right. Let's breathe some fumes. Who is close to an understanding threshold? Maybe we just give it to Zach. Zach can't depart, so instead he's going to breathe the fumes. Looks like I was actually slightly wrong on my overlay here. Zachary should have 1 understanding. All right, sure. Let's see what we get here. That's a 7. So he gains a random disorder, and we do trigger intimacy, so we'll see what happens there. Let's give him that disorder. Gets fear of the dark. You cannot bear the oppressive darkness any longer. You retire? Oh! Oh no! If you gain this disorder during a hunter showdown, you put on a brave face, returns to... Oh no, Zachary! Buddy! Alright, he's retired. Oh gosh. I mean, I guess technically, just for bookkeeping purposes, I'll record that disorder on his character sheet. We do get to trigger intimacy. Maybe Zachary could just be a dad from now on. Oh, God. Do I even want to try it now after that? I have nothing else to spend this endeavor on. It's not really worth making a 3rd stone nose, I don't think. Okay. If this comes up odds, stone nose. If it's evens, we'll try to sniff the fumes again. Someone's sniffing. Let's just grab somebody who's not important. Maria's not really coming out with us again because she has this minus luck and nothing else going for her. So, sure. 4. She gains +1 understanding, pass out, and skips the next turn. That's fine. But we did trigger 1 intimacy. We're still going to hold on to these. So I think, all right, so let's talk about some big picture stuff here. So there's some weirdness in Kingdom Death with regards to intimacy. One, uh, you can have a baby born and that baby goes out to hunt the next year. So these are not, in my opinion, true biological children. These are like more spiritual. Like they grow up quickly. There's a lot of gray area into what exactly a child is in this game. Additionally, 14 people is not a healthy breeding population. Trying to track parents and children, one, gets complicated. Two, eventually someone's sleeping with their cousin. So we just kind of gloss over that whole thing and don't worry about it. But we get to roll 2 dice and we have to pick the lower. So that is a 3, which I think is fine. The female perishes, so we will have Maria spend her lifetime reroll. Is that anywhere on here? Yes, reroll used. So we get a 5, which I think is just a babby. Yes, +1 population. So we'll take care of that shortly. That is all of our endeavor spent. We can toss that back in. Apparently we live in Florida because it's just all heat. So what can we actually craft here? So I said we want to make the catgut bow. So we need to spend a sinew and a bone. I don't think it's really worth trying to hold on to the perfect resources just yet. So we get our catgut bow. Excellent. So we can start working on bow proficiency for somebody. And then we have a lot of stuff. So we need to start working on our next set of rawhide. So we have 2 more fresh acanthus, so we can make 2 more dried acanthus. That's an easy one. So we have 1, 2 hides, so we can make another rawhide headband and rawhide vest. Let's see. We have 2 organs. So, oh goodness, pressing buttons. Golden whiskers. That's for the whisker harp. Not going to make that. Nothing else specific to that. So we will spend our perfect organ and our golden whiskers to make another monster grease. Whoa. Although Lucky Charms will be on the menu soon. And then finally, we're going to hold on to this iron. And we're actually going to spend the skull to just make a skull helm. Because I don't think we really have any better use for that bone right now. Yeah, nothing else to really spend that bone on. Yeah, skull helm sounds good. Get us some extra defenses. So we're good. That's the end of our Lantern Year 2. Heading out on Lantern Year 3. We're going to keep going for... I would like to hunt an antelope just to get that crafting location open, maybe. But there's not really anything super valuable from that crafting location. So I still want to get that guitar. So I think we're just going to do another lion. That seems to be the smartest thing to do. All right, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to take a short break here. We actually get to do 2 lantern years this stream. That's great. So yeah, going to take a short break. Allow me to clean up all of the gear and resources and all that stuff. And then we're going to come back to hunt another lion. So give me about 5 minutes or so for that to happen. Go take yourself a break, get yourself a drink, whatever works for you, and we'll see you back here shortly.